change the topic again. I want to talk about privacy and GDPR, if you can comment specifically on it. And just what are the conversations with clients like? And how aware are clients around just the issue of privacy? I mean, one thing coming to MasterCard that I see the company talks about a lot is this idea of privacy by design and how we build solutions ground up that will respect the consumer. And what do you see that across the client organizations you're talking to? What's some of the advice you're giving them, Scott?
Pretty simple. I think clients should own all their own ad tech contracts. I think the agencies should operate them, and I think they should be fully transparent.
Okay. Arun, what's the advice?
Well, I think in many cases clients do not. If you look at all the pitch documents that have come in, it's a standard question which they ask. But I think there are a couple of things which they probably miss on, which is in understanding the true impact of what many of these regulations are and how the EU and the US are not necessarily going to be in sync. The other part of that is in just figuring out that the impact of this is not just going to be in one part of the organization, and that the whole discussion around data and privacy needs to extend beyond. I don't think they're still at the point where they're willing to have a conversation around if someone's giving me data, what am I giving in exchange? Where's the better brand experience? And it's just going to get harder to justify bombarding consumers with impressions that they don't need just because you know who they are. I think that whole change in philosophy, that less is more, and that I'm going to have to make my advertising work harder, that's actually a far more fundamental cultural shift that needs to come, because privacy is one part of it.
And that's also kind of that collapsing between advertising and commerce, or that's at least part of that same discussion. Brian, what are those conversations like, privacy?
I think clients are very aware of how to use data, how to ingest data, how to apply it. Frankly, I think we have more conversations about how advertising can be relevant and engaging without being creepy and without, convincing consumers that, in fact, there has been some breach of privacy when there very rarely is. So part of our job as agencies is to make sure clients don't find themselves getting sued for breaching privacy laws. And that's why we have big global networks that understand not just Europe, but Asia and the States and every place else. So I think privacy is not an issue for our clients so much as following the law. That's never been an issue. It's more, how do we, I think what Scott's talking about is security. How do we make sure that we own our data and that we're careful about who we share it with, and then how do we use that for good to make the consumer experience better?
I think it's security and trust. It depends on what side of the coin you're looking at. If you're talking about from a consumer standpoint, it's trust, right? So retargeting, I've just been on a website, and now I'm on another website, and I keep getting the same, that product that I was surfing on, served to me many times.
I bought the shoes, damn it.
It's like, stop serving me the ad, right? So that's the creepy factor, and that's the trust issue that falls away. If you go back to what I was just talking about, if we use some insight about an audience to personalize a communication that says, you're a dog passionate person, you love pets, right? And you're in the market to buy a car, then let's actually just send you an ad and talk to you about that in the context of pets. That's less, the trust is there because you're using the data in a way that actually there's a value exchange. You know me, and therefore you're making that much more interesting to me. The security thing is, that's up to the agencies and the clients. Clients have always been very much about security. As we start to use data across more parts of the agency and more parts of the client, I think there's an education that has to happen so that people that haven't necessarily been handling data previously and are now having data conversations, that they know the implications and they're trained on how to handle that data or send an email without actually being in breach of that.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right, so now we're going to change the format, and I'm going to ask some yes or no questions. We'll just go down the line, just a straight yes or no. So the first question or statement is, there's a crisis of confidence in the digital supply chain. Yes or no? Scott?
No.
Yes.
No.
Sort of.
Yes. All right. Next statement is Google will remain a dominant company for the next 10 years. Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
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 Yes. Facebook will remain a dominant company for the next 10 years. Yes or no?
Narcissism.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Snapchat will be a viable challenger to the other walled gardens. Doug, you want to start? Yes or no?
Say yes and a breath of fresh air.
No.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe. All right. Understanding advertising impact on sales and sales lift, business outcomes is becoming increasingly important. Doug?
Yes.
It's a silly question.
It always was.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you tabulating these?
Google and
You know, I
Google-
think he's just taken my responses and
I'm-
he's just using that.
With you. You should switch these with me.
Business outcomes are
I'm going
important.
to send you your
Who's
test
gonna
results
answer
at
no
home
to that question?
to your parents. Google and Facebook will continue to capture the vast majority of incremental digital spend. Doug?
It's a tough one. I think in the short term, yes, but I think there's a lot that's changing and a lot of consortiums that are popping up to fight that.
Yes, but declining.
Yes in the short term, no in the long term.
Negative.
No. Advertisers will shift to more results-based compensation over the next 3 years with their agencies. Over the next 3 years. Doug?
There will be more of that, but it will not be dominant.
It's already happening, yes.
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully.
No. All right, let's end with word association. What do you think? Okay, so I'm gonna mention a word or a topic, and I just want one word, and you got to restrain yourself. I mean, as people just start going.
We played this
Okay.
game before, haven't we?
Okay, we have played this game before. Yeah, around the world. Okay, the first one is the consumer. Scott.
Data.
Ahead.
Smart.
Empowered.
Okay. Boss. Doug. Walled gardens.
Necessity.
Declining.
Crumbling.
Brickless.
Control. The CMO. Scott.
Smarter.
Important.
Digital.
Challenged.
Scientists. The CIO or CTO. Scott.
Money person.
Center.
Technology.
Evolving.
Creative. Media agencies. Doug.
Redefining themselves.
Reinvention.
Relevant.
Shapeshift.
Curator. Trust. Doug.
Essential.
Important.
Necessary.
Upswing.
All right. Everything. Transparency. Scott.
See-through.
Overhyped.
Transparent.
Cost of entry.
Baseline. Closed loop. Scott.
Impossible.
Hard.
He's
Yes.
thinking. I can
Yes.
tell. Okay. Yes.
He's closing the loop.
Okay.
Attribution.
Optimization. Fake news. Scott.
Terrible.
Real.
Damaging.
Trump.
Concerning. We almost made it through without a mention. Snapchat. Scott.
Fleeting.
Possible.
Evolving.
Interesting.
All right. Messaging. Facebook. Doug.
Time suck.
Expanding.
Over.
Aging.
People. All right. Doug. Google.
The right answer was people.
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
Evolving.
Terrifying.
Get back to the roots.
All right. Diabolical. Measuring business outcomes. Doug.
Yes, essential.
Yes.
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 Finally. Thank you very much for coming. Thank our panelists.